Hey guys, so I just came in from outside and the pollen is horrible. So this allergy season has been particularly hard for a lot of my patients, and they're asking what they need to do. Pollen is really high in terms of counts, and people are sneezing, coughing, rubbing their eyes. Well, there are some things that you can do, just simple tips and tricks that will help you deal with your allergies. Yes, seasonal allergies. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so first tip, as soon as you come in from outside, have you ever thought about changing your clothes? And tip number 2, washing your face. Why? It's because pollen is in the air and all those little particles of the pollen get on your skin, and then on top of that, they get on your hands. And so what do? Well, you may be coughing, sneezing, you rub your eyes with your hands that have pollen on them. So tip number 3, you also want to wash your hands. These are just simple things to do to decrease that amount of pollen that comes in. On top of that, when you come in, what do? You take a seat on the couch, but you have all this clothes that have all this pollen on it. And what happens? The pollen spreads everywhere, right? And then again, when you want to lay back, even if you haven't even gone outside, you're still picking up and breathing in pollen. So those are things to really note. So as soon as you come in, change your clothes, wash your face quickly, and wash your hands as well to stop that spread of pollen. Now, for those of you who cannot avoid going outside, and I am not limiting you guys from going outside. So if you're talking about accumulating pollen on your couch or on your bed, wash your sheets and especially your pillows more frequently. There's nothing wrong with vacuuming as well. This will help to keep down on the amount of particulate that you get on your upholstery, on your seats as well. You can also wipe those down as well. So we've talked about some of the things that you can do to improve your environment, but there are a couple of other things that I want to mention. One is filtration. The first is if you have like an apartment, or if you don't have access to like a main AC vent or air filtration system in your home, just get something like a HEPA filter. Those are portable, and those will actually help to filter out the particulates and pollen in your specific room. Now, for those of you who own homes or have access to your AC filtration system, I want you to purchase a filter with a higher grade. So something that can filter out the dust, the pollen really well, so that will help you sleep better at night and breathe in better throughout the day as well. Okay, let's get to the good stuff. So now let's talk about some of the medications that are either prescribed or over the counter that help you with your allergy symptoms. So the first off is olopatadine. This is an eye drop, an allergic eye drop that helps to really relieve a lot of the swelling, the itching that you may have in your eyes, and like that clear, watery, red eye that just doesn't stop after you have exposure to allergies. Because generally people complain of their eyes itching, their eyes watering and tearing constantly, and then swelling because they're rubbing their eyes because they're itching all the time. This helps to stop it, the olopatadine. Now, you may be able to find this over the counter, or you also can ask your doctor to prescribe it. So it just depends. But that's just something that you want to look into. This is just one particular medication, but you can actually just go to the pharmacy and get any sort of allergy eye drop as well to kind of help with that. So something to remember. So this is the generic of Benadryl essentially. And Benadryl is an antihistamine, so it really helps to bring down the itchy and inflammatory response that you get after being exposed to pollen in your body. The reason why people may not like Benadryl so much is because it makes you drowsy. So a lot of times people will take it, they have bad allergies, and then they take this and they're knocked out. So I have some alternatives to this, but this is something that you can use. Again, you want to talk to your doctor about dosing and also look on the box as well. But this is over the counter, so you do not need a prescription for this. So I talked about washing your face once you come in or washing your hands. Now, that's wonderful if you're at home, but if you're on the go, you can use something like boogie wipes, which are really great in terms of washing your face quickly or wiping your face down and wiping off your hands quickly to stop that transmission of pollen. So these are things to look at. Again, it doesn't have to be boogie wipes in particular. It can be any sort of wipe, but you do want to make sure that it's primarily water, that there aren't any like crazy chemicals in it, because again, you don't want to put that on your face necessarily or on your hands, but just something to remember. Next, I have a non-drowsy antihistamine. So this is children's Zyrtec, and this also comes in a pill and liquid form, but this is a definite go-to for kids and even for adults, guys. Not the children's version, but the adult version. So again, this will help with a lot of the coughing, the sneezing. It will help dry up the mucus and do a lot of the things that the Benadryl does, except it is non-drowsy. Again, this is over the counter, so you can get it at your pharmacy freely and then just take it as directed. Here is another formulation I just wanted to show you because, again, just to show you that all of these allergy formulations come in a pill and also a liquid form. So this is Children's Allegra. And just to let you know, I don't have it with me as an example, but there's also Children's Claritin as well. And we always talk about the brand names, but there are generics of this. So if you're in the store and again, you see the Allegra and then you see a bottle right next to it, you'll find that generic name on it. So in this case, it's fexofenadine. So really what you're going to do is look for that same bottle. It's going to look similar, but it'll be right next to it. Sometimes you may find that the generics are cheaper. So if you're trying to, again, cut costs, be more cost conscious, let's be realistic, then it's something to look out for. But again, you'll have the pill form and the liquid form. So this is something to always check. And again, in terms of directions, you can look on the label and on the box that you get it on. And again, in kids that are less than 2 years of age, please call your pediatrician for dosing or speak with your pharmacist. Okay, guys, this is a game changer. And I know a lot of times I'm talking to patients, they're talking about how they're using over-the-counter meds, they're miserable, and, they're still suffering. They have the eye drops, they have the antihistamine. Is there anything that you can do? Yes, a nasal spray. A lot of people get creeped out by nasal sprays, and especially if you're closer to my age or even a little bit younger, you remember those nasal sprays where you'd like spray and it was like squirting water into your nose and then it'd run down your face and then it was just a whole thing. I never had that experience, but I'm just saying. So instead, they have made real technological advances with nasal sprays. Now the nasal spray is a nice mist that goes into your nose. You barely even feel it. It may sting a little, but here is what it does and why it is such a game changer. Okay, so in this case, this is Costco's brand. It's basically the generic of Flonase, which you can also find over the counter. But again, there are a number of allergic nasal sprays that you can use. So let me show you why this is such a game changer. Okay, guys, so I've made a little diagram for why this is such a game changer. And, most people think it's kind of crazy, that they can't breathe out of their nose, but there actually is a really good reason. So the more pollen that you breathe into your nose through your nostrils, it causes an allergic reaction, which then leads to what we call the turbinates, which are inside of the nose swelling. So if this is just your normal nose, right, without pollen, and you're breathing normally, what starts to happen is once you start breathing in a lot of pollen, the inside turbinates start to swell and actually end up blocking the nose. So a lot of times people will sound like this because what's going on is they can't breathe out of their nose because there's so much nasal swelling. Okay, so enter this baby. Once you start actually using this, what this does is it is a localized steroid spray, and it helps to bring down the inflammation, right? So the swelling goes down, and it should lead to this. And this may happen, over time, but again, you can give it like a couple of days of use, if not a week. And this should help you go from this, where the inside of the turbinates are really swollen and blocking your nasal passages, to this, where you start feeling really good. Now, a lot of people ask me how long they should be using these medications. What I say is really however long you need to. Generally, we talk about seasonal allergies, and pollen has, different times where there are certain pollens that are higher than others. So you may have grass, you may have trees. What I would do is this. You have apps like the Weather Channel and channels like the Weather Channel that you can look at. You just want to see what your local pollen count is for that day. But again, if you pretty much know, especially in spring, that the pollen's coming out, the grass is beautiful, the flowers are out, all of that is caused by what? Pollen. So you know that the pollen count's going to be pretty high. I would still use the medications routinely during that time. And then again, when you don't need it so much, when there's low pollen counts, you're probably not going to need it as much. And again, all these medications are really kind of used as needed. So it's just good to remember. I know that a lot of parents get hesitant with using these things, but again, that's what they're made for. They're really made for a time, essentially. All right. So if you have any further questions, though, about how long you use it, if you have concerns about that, please call your pediatrician, call your doctor, and discuss this. Because again, even though I am a pediatrician, all of the things that I listed and all of the treatments work for adults too. So adults, please partake, because you're miserable too. I see all these people now and they're starting to get sinus infections just because when you leave this untreated, it starts building up, and then it's that much worse, and it takes that much longer to get over. Now, for those of you who really know that you have just a bad reaction to pollen every year, you're miserable, there is another thing that you may think about. Try getting local honey. Local honey is the best way to kind of help with those seasonal allergies over time. So if you take like just a little bit a day, what it does is it exposes your body to pollen, right? Because that's what bees do. Bees essentially use pollen to make their honey. So if you take that, that's going to help you in your environment, your local environment, start getting acclimated and help bring down those allergic reactions. So it's something to think about. Now, if you're noticing that you have really, really bad allergies, these medications aren't working, definitely talk to your doctor. But there is one other thing that I will say. I showed you guys the non-drowsy formulations. Generally, there are about 4 that I know of at this time that are my go-tos. The first is Zyrtec, the second is Allegra, the third is Claritin, and then they also have Xyzal out on the market. Now, what you may find is that year after year, let's say you're using Zyrtec, and after a while, when you start using Zyrtec, it isn't working. This is called tachyphylaxis. It's a name for it. It just means that your body starts getting used to that medication so much that it stops losing its effectiveness. So you may have to switch it up. If Claritin is no longer working, then switch to Allegra and try that, or Zyrtec, or Xyzal. But the thing is, you may come to that point where you're using a medication and then it's not working. For the non-drowsy antihistamines especially, that is common. So you may have to switch it up. All right, guys, I hope that helps, and I hope you feel better. I know that this is a miserable pollen season, but it happens every year. I think this one's a little bit more crazy, though. So hang in there. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out and call your pediatrician or your practitioner. For more tips and tricks, so a friend of mine just pointed out a great observation. A lot of people get creeped out by the fact that we're saying that it's a localized steroid spray, but I guarantee you, this spray only works on the inner part of your nose. A lot of times I know we talk about steroids, they may have systemic effects. And so if you have any concerns, you want to talk to your doctors about this, but it really only works on this one area of the nose. It's not anything that you're going to take in by mouth that then goes to work on the system, okay? So it is safe and effective.